Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to talk about Cloud Solution Architect Career Series, and in this we will be speaking about typical organization structure. So when you work as a cloud solution architect for a customer, you typically encounter with different kind of team you need to deal with. So I have categorized as before only 3 points here. That means three kind of teams. Number one is the account team, the team which is your parent organization is responsible for bringing cloud into customer environment. And when I talk about customer, this customer could be an internal customer or an external customer. So let's put it in a generic format. And then after the customer team, which you obviously have to work because they are the primary team you have to interact with to deliver things. You need to actually do things, which means that if it is an application development, you need to do their application development. If it is an infrastructure migration, you need to do that. It is definitely not a single man job to do all sort of things in a large enterprise scenario. So you need a large team. Either you will be involved in partners, that those are independent companies who are expert in migrating, let's say, workload into cloud, or a delivery team, which is part of the customer organization or your parent company organization, depending on how the preference is. So what I try to do is that I try to sort of generalize the overall cloud solution architect role within a typical cloud vendor organization. And this may change a little bit here and there, but this is mostly what you get to see when you are offered as a cloud solution architect and start working as a cloud solution architect for a large customer. Now, this is not absolutely the thing because cloud solution architect is a quite, let's say, free-flowing sort of role, and depending on the customer need, we try to fit in, right? So it is very agile. So keep that in mind that this is something which is not absolute, right? And this is a very, very commonly asked question, and I get this question whenever I get to talk about cloud solution architect role within and outside my organization to set up people who are interested in joining, or while taking the interviews I encounter this how that team looks like. So I thought of creating this video for all of you which might be helpful, but I to do that I will be doing a little bit of whiteboarding. So let's draw some funny pictures and then with a bad handwriting and show you the overall thing. Now, as a cloud solution architect, so let's call this cloud solution architect as a CSA. So CSA is a technical role, which means that you are technically responsible for overall cloud adoption. Now, I spoke about the first team, that is account team. Okay. So account team in a typical cloud vendor scenario, any public cloud vendor scenario means set of people who are responsible for driving the cloud business to their customer. And this customer can be internal or external. So depending on how that organization works, so it could be an internal customer or external customer. So customer comes next. Okay. And then once you have the customer and the account team, in this, there are different roles. There could be a seller who is selling the cloud. There could be a director who manages the overall relationship with the customer, right? There could be other people like CSA, other CSAs. There could be support people who basically helps you if things are broken, because that's also integration you need in the overall picture. So this is your team within your organization. So this is your org where you belong. Now this is where you stand. So you're part of a larger team, You may not have, all of you may not have the same manager. You may be part of a team working together as a single, let's say, force. Now, the customer, depending on how they're folk tried, is typically a project team. So think of them as a project team. So a typical project team will have a project manager, program manager, right? Uh, and then you have a um, product owner, and you have many like developers, dev, DevOps, and many other different kind of role a typical IT project may need. So this is the customer side of the story. Now, what I also talked briefly about the third point is where you need a delivery team. So the delivery team comprises of either the customer's engineering team. So this is basically, I'm talking about, let's say, engineering team who builds the product. So the building product could be either writing the code. So if you're writing the code, then you have set of devs. If you are deploying, you need a set of DevOps. Okay. If you are migrating, you need specialists. Like if you're moving your SAP workload, and you need SAP SME. Okay, so that's a kind of like typical different skill set which you need in the delivery. Now, because you're a single person, you may not know everything about that. So you are not an expert on everything. So you need hands. Now, what we have seen so far, either you can use the engineering team of customer, or you can bring in partner. So the partner are basically uh, system integrators. Let's say we call them as SI. Okay, system integrators are the expert in the industry who know the cloud very well, and they can actually do the similar thing. And they have done thousands of times the same thing, so they're very expert. They know where the roadblock could be and how that could be solved. So you bring in those partners. Let's say if you do not have this engineering team within the customer organization, right? So the by saying the third point, that is delivery team, that's point number three, partner means the people who will be actually part of the project team. So you understand that this is how. Now, where do you really fit in? So you fit in to this account team as part of the overall team, but you also keep moving between this different org structure because you are involved in the overall cloud solution architecture span. So if you have a project span drawn like this, there are different stages of the project, right? And then you say, let's say you call it as a pre-sales. So when the discussion is happening whether or not this will go, you come in here. And then there's a post-sales. So post-sales says that the project's kickstarted, it's approved, and then you come in, okay? And then you have operation. That means after the deployment happens, it's in production. Now, what happens if things go wrong? Or when you need to update certain things in the production, you also come in. Now, you may not be, let's say, actively involved in every stages, but you are sort of like omnipresent in all different stages. So you can draw this something like a CSA looks after all of them depending on your bandwidth, the demand, etc. So you will get yourself involved. So I said like this is very floating kind of definition in terms of role. So we will not be, let's say, having a single job description which try to demonstrate that you can only do the ABC. Because if you're not agile, if you don't fit yourself to the customer's need, you will never be successful. Neither the organization you work for will be successful. So we need to always focus on how our customer really demands us to be present, and whether it is, let's say, a valid ask or not, etc. After discussing that, and then you demand the kind of time and schedule of your own to do that. So the CSA is a key critical role. The cloud solution architect is key critical role, starting from architect definition of the architecture, which could be could be high level architecture when you are just putting some boxes to understand. Like, then you have a detailed architecture, that is technical architecture. Okay, and then you do the security architecture, which is also important in cloud solution architect kind of role. And then you basically get them approved, help them while they're designing along with your customer, because they understand their business better than you. So you always have to work with customer to help them build architecture which suits their business need, right? It's not just about only technology, right? Sometimes we are tempted to use certain, let's say, breaking technology, breaking changes into the system, or the bleeding edge of technology, we must sometimes call it. But that is not practical always, right? Especially in a large scale industry where there are a lot of compliance, governance, guidelines. You need to follow certain rules. Probably you will be using some older specs, um, some N-2 kind of version, which we typically call technically. So if the version today says N, you go N-2 just to make sure that they are certified, tested, okay, and ready to use in that certain specific industry, like healthcare, like oil and energy, like retail, and all these different kind of businesses, right? So this is where you come into play. So you play a very, very critical role in all the different stages of a project development, and you fall literally into all of these three different teams which you typically encounter in a large enterprise kind of scenario. So I hope this explains on a high level how the cloud solution architect role looks like. Where do you fit into the organization, and how do you play different role in different groups within a project's lifespan, right? And you at one given point in time may be involved in multiple projects, so you will be responsible far more than a project manager or a developer of that project, because he or she in that project is only responsible for that project, right? But you are responsible for the larger and overall cloud adoption. So you will drive many different kind of project, and depending on the need of the hour, you will be involved there. So hope this was helpful and clarifies some of the confusions or the questions you may have. So, and enjoy the exploration of the cloud solution architect role, which help you in long run. And thank you very much, and have a great day.